it's a very creative game of troubleshooting how you're going to accomplish something with a third of the things that you were planning on using to accomplish that. I had to go across the ship and start flirting with all the Polish contractors to see if I could get a screw gun. And I did, and it worked.
Hello, and welcome to the Theatre Art Life podcast, sponsored by Harlequin Floors, world leader in floors, stage systems, and studio equipment for the performing arts. The Theatre Art Life podcast puts the spotlight on those who create live entertainment around the world, the culture creators, the backstage masters. My name is Anna Aguilera.
And my name is Anna Robb, and today we'll be talking to Anna Tompkins about Theatre Art Life's podcast second anniversary.
Anna is an acrobatic rigger, rope access, and automation technician, originally from the United States. She was our very first guest back in 2019, and we're happy to have her back. And well, since then, we've released over 120 episodes. Yeah, we're here again. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have the pleasure of seeing you guys again and your lovely faces.
Do you know that your episode has been in the top 10 for the entirety of these 2 years?
That's exciting. No, I didn't know that. I'm shocked, honestly.
People want to listen to what it's like to be a female rigger, I guess.
I guess so. I didn't realize, but cool. Right on. I'm happy to have more, exposure, I guess.
Some inspiration for upcoming riggers.
Exactly.
Yes. Bring them on.
So we're 2 years on from when we first interviewed you. What has happened apart from a global pandemic?
Yeah, the global pandemic was a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal for everybody, of course. It just for everyone, it was just well, what is happening? What are we doing? What am I doing? So I went through the phase of, it's only going to be a few months. We're going to be fine. Oh, it's only going to be 6 months. We're going to be fine. And so I kind of held strong, and I ended up hanging out with the parents, which is good because family matters came up and whatnot. I was just, in between family stuff and my normal waking life, I was basically either at the gym or, helping someone trim trees or mow their lawn or just doing things for people around, because I was just well, if I'm not going to be working, at least I can be contributing to something. I would buy groceries for people that. I was actually really enjoying for me, because it felt like I was able to, do something worthwhile as a young, healthy person, to be able to get out and, be of use. So I did that for a long, long while. And then I eventually picked up a few freelance gigs with Tate Technologies. And so I've kind of been doing that off and on for the last year. And I have just signed on full time with them. So I start officially in 3 weeks as a mechanical engineer or integrator, as the US calls it. So for the support side, yeah, no longer projects, support.
That's exciting.
Which is actually very exciting.
Congratulations.
It is. Yeah, thank you. It's been a little adventure. Lots of things that are familiar and lots of new things to see. So, and then you get to be client facing, which helps me learn how to be political speaking better. Mm-hmm.
No more hiding in the darkness, Anna. You must get out
No
there.
more hiding in the darkness. No more blurting out the things that I really want to say. I will say all of the correct things to the correct people. That is my life goal. I wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm just temper yourself. Your beauty, your grace.
Your beauty, your grace. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's me. I'm currently back in Florida. I'm hanging out at my mom's house in the spare bedroom because it's the quiet place, and I've got a few weeks until I sign on full time, and it's going to be lovely.
It's amazing, but where does that keep you located? Do you have to be in a specific place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they had originally intended for me to be in Lidditz near the head office, but I was able to, basically say I would rather stay in Jacksonville, Florida. So I will be home based in Jacksonville, Florida. And I think most of my assignments are probably going to be in the southeast of the United States anyway. So it works out for everybody.
Right. There's a lot of support required down there for certain installations.
Yes, there is. Well, there's Disney, there's all the cruise ships. There's some other theme parks, as I understand. I haven't been given the full lowdown, but I'm sure that'll happen once I've signed all the NDAs on official, full-time sign-on. So, yep.
That's
the NDAs.
awesome.
Yes. They're good times.
What do you think in your opinion, since we spoke last, like, what do you think, has the pandemic changed the industry much? Has it changed anything internally, externally? How does it feel now, the industry, compared to 2 years ago?
I feel like in my previous experience with the industry as a whole has been in on-stage productions, and my personal experience throughout the pandemic has been purely like maintenance and support. So like for me personally, it's been really strange, like not having performers around, not being able to like watch shows to the degree that I did. I was speaking with other Anna here at one point. I was getting like really like frustrated with like not having the comfort of like being on headset and just like hearing like just normal chatter. So I would start watching air traffic control recordings because it reminded me of like stage managers like controlling a scene and everything. Like it was weird for me. I don't know why I would do that, but I don't know. I still do it actually. So, I mean, I guess everyone took it differently, but for me personally, like the strangest thing has been like not doing shows specifically, but being like, you know, doing the maintenance support thing, which is actually really good because the majority of the jobs that I've applied for and got hired for in the last like 10 years have been for maintenance. But then I get like pushed on to shows, which works out fine. But it's just like, oh, but I wanted to do maintenance. Oh, but I wanted to do the inspections, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm really doing it and miss doing shows. So it's kind of like it comes full circle.
I actually did check out the recordings from the air controller, and it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It is really cool. I mean, they've got so much concentration.
Yeah, like, and precision and attention to detail.
Yeah. So like I listen to that stuff and I'm just like, oh, it's so inspiring. They know all the right words to say immediately at the right time. I'm going to honor this and remember these things. And I find myself, even today, I was at the bank and I was like repeating numbers of like an account or something. And I was just like 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was very like slow and precise. And the lady was just kind of like looking at me like I was absolutely insane. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to make sure that we've got like the right, you know, sequence happening and, you know, exactly what's going on. She's like, oh, I really appreciate that. And I was like, thank you. You know, so yeah, I'm learning things. Well, because of course, like in our industry, like saying like letters and numbers in the right order and making sure that they're clear and concise is really important. So I was just like, oh, I'm practicing.
That's great. I think, you know, people have compared show calling with air traffic control in some senses as well. So it is, I've never, it's funny because people have compared that, but I've never actually listened to an air traffic control tower. So I'm going to look that up. I'm going to Google that.
You should. It's interesting.
Your personal changes that you've seen through the industry, like, well, you were doing production and now you're more in the maintenance and service part. Have you seen any changes on how the industry operates or what we do, how we do it, what's going on out there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's a little bit more conscious of people's personal lives and that, you know, we all have personal lives, which is great, you know, because that's, I mean, we've all had to focus on that a bit more. I know in the freelance things that I've been doing recently, you know, they've worked out housing and like creating like appropriate bubbles, like different ways for people. So for example, I would, you know, go to a location and normally I'd be in a hotel for, you know, X amount of days, but now I'm on a ship for X amount of days doing the exact same thing, but they just want to keep it smaller. Well, that's actually a lot more efficient for a lot of reasons. So I think things like that are becoming a bit more normalized. I can't really speak to like actual productions, but I think in some other instances where people are trying to get their shows back up and running, they're a lot more cognizant of the things that they really do need and things that they, you know, maybe can wait for a little while. So people are a little bit more focused on necessities, the bare necessities now. And then, you know, things are definitely picking back up, but it's slow for different sectors, I guess. That's what I've noticed. But again, I've not been seeing any actual shows except for at the dog park.
I think for me, I'm like the whole Zoom fatigue thing is quite real, right? I think it's a hard thing when you're doing sort of international work to try and figure out now at what point do we come together and what point do we stay virtual? Because I think that we're still navigating that post-pandemic because what we've realized is we can achieve quite a lot via this medium, right? Where you don't have to necessarily fly to a particular place. But I recently did a business trip, and it was nice to just stand in a room with a bunch of people and talk work rather than instead of through a screen. I was like, this is joyful. And we're kind of staying in a communal place where the people I was working with, who I'd worked with for like months but never met personally, we could like literally sit in a room together and have a coffee. Like, it was really like, I really appreciated it. It was just a strange feeling just to sit there and look at the person and have a coffee, right? Like, it was, we took it for granted, I guess.
Definitely. I maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I touched like an HMI like control panel for like the first time in what felt like forever. And I moved like 3 chain hoists up and down, and I called it out, and I was like, blah, 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 truss is moving. I'm like, this is great. I mean, it only went like 3 meters. Like, who cares? Like, it was just up and down. It was like fixed speed, blah, 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 blah. And all I was doing was just like pressing the dead man and just like letting it go. I'm just like, it's the little things, but you're right. I mean, just being able to have like a normal conversation, because like here at home, nobody knows what I'm talking about. I can't have like a normal like theater conversation with anybody in my general acquaintance here. So when I first like got on my like first big thing after coronavirus, I was just like, do I even know anything? What's happening? You know, like who am I anymore? But then things start to come back, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm not crazy. So good.
Sorry, just a side note on that. Isn't it funny how you think that like our world was so profoundly changed, right? And we had to go through all of this, which I don't think there's enough acknowledgement outside our industry, just the impact on our people, because people don't live in our world, right? But think about it. Like, there are people who live in this world where the pandemic didn't affect their job at all, right? And here we are feeling a big change and a big thing, and other people are they didn't have nothing change for them. And that blows my mind, because for us, it's been a completely different experience the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, I know a plumber down the way, and he was just like, whatever, we got a few more jobs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that's good. Should I have been a plumber this entire time? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm glad it works for you, buddy. But you're right. I mean, it does, greatly depend on, what you do. And like, I've had several conversations with individuals who are just like, yeah, you're not an essential worker. And I'm just like, okay, I get, economically in some ways I probably am not, but it sure feels essential to me, and to everybody else that does this. And it's essential for people's, catharsis and like their emotional health. So, it's essential in other ways. So yeah, you're totally right.
My uncle works in like house renovation and things like that. And I think because everybody was home staring at their walls, they were all calling, he had more work, because they're like, no, I need to change that. I need to change that. Because
Yeah.
they've never been home enough to be like, yeah, I can't deal with this bathroom anymore. It needs to be renovated.
Yeah. I definitely renovated a bathroom at least once while I was on break. So
you mentioned something that I think it's very interesting, and we've joked around with, I don't know, at least more than one technician, and I'm sure it's not the same for performers, but how do you explain the world what you do, right? And it's usually like a fun question among technicians or whatever, but now you mention it in a whole different context, and it resonates to me on the importance of our side communities, 'cause like we have our families, but also these communities that we belong to, where we can speak our own language, meaning the theater or the entertainment slang, if you will, and how that becomes such an important part of our day to day.
I describe my position to someone when I first meet them differently every single time. And I don't even know why. Actually, I do know why, because usually I'm doing something kind of different each time I'm doing it, because I don't really like stick with the one thing. I kind of like diverge, one way or another. But I usually will fall back on circus, because it's the easiest thing to, say, and, it piques people's interest, and you can kind of like actually explain it. My dad was convinced that I was an Imagineer at Disney for the last 20 years, because that's what he wants to know. And I'm like, okay, sure, Dad, that's what I do. Ironically, I do know some Imagineers, and they're really cool people. So yeah, usually I'll do that. Quite often I'll get the question of, are you military? And I'm like, no, circus. That happened to me today at the Lowe's when I was trying to buy plants, and they were asking if I wanted a military discount or if I was going to be able to get that. And I was like, I went to theater. Like, I always feel a little bad about that. Are there theater discounts?
There should be.
No, I mean, so there really should be.
Yeah, what kind of energy are you giving off? It says you're in the military, Anna. It's because you're like super fit right now. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I'm super fit right now, and I do know for a fact that I have a certain like posture and gait that I move with, which, you know, has just been the way that it is because I have a weird spine and I want to move efficiently. But people think that it, you know, one dude called me a gorilla. I was like, that's nice. Another dude was just like, yeah, you look like a military guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. So like, I get that actually probably like 40% of the time. People think that I'm in the military, which is, there's no problem with that. I just kind of feel bad because I'm not. But I don't because it wasn't right for me. So like, I don't know how we devolved into that. So yeah, I guess now I deal with the safe installation inspections of stage machineries and maintenance. So that's kind of me right now, and that can be anything from crawling underneath the stage to clambering over fly bars and everything in between.
And now a moment for our sponsor. The Theatre Art Life podcast is proud to be sponsored by Harlequin. Harlequin is the world leader in floors, stage systems, and studio equipment for the performing arts. Established in the UK over 40 years ago, Harlequin is the preferred performance floor for the world's most prestigious dance and performing arts companies, theatres, and schools, from the Royal Opera House to the Bolshoi Theatre, the New York City Ballet to the Royal New Zealand Ballet. Harlequin's experience and reputation are founded on the development, manufacture, and supply of a range of high-quality sprung and vinyl floors specifically designed for dance and the performing arts. Backed by an engineering team and independent research, Harlequin also designs, builds, and refurbishes stages, working with stage engineers and theatre consultants in leading venues across the world. Harlequin is the global leader in its field with offices in Europe, the Americas, and Asia Pacific. Find out more at harlequinfloors.com, HARLEQUIN floors.com.
So have you been listening to our podcast and other episodes of Anna and Anna's Adventures?
I have listened to a few. I honestly didn't realize that y'all were putting out quite so many, and I wasn't quite as frequent with it. I listened to one about Hamilton. I listened to an automation individual that was on like really early on, but I haven't heard a lot recently, and I apologize for that. Things have been going on. But yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to be carrying it on. It sounds like y'all have been getting like a really interesting like series of clientele. Oh, and I think my brother recorded something. So that's exciting.
Yeah, we got your brother in here. It was great. That was fun. We have so many fun conversations, and like it's from people all over the world and in different parts of the industry.
Yes,
creative or technical, and sometimes we totally geek out with technical people, and other times we're like, okay, we're asking the artist everything because we don't know what we don't know what they're talking about. Tell us about your life?
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. No, it's great. I mean, you guys get a wide range of experiences and interests. So, you know, like you're covering all bases. I think that's awesome.
What's your feeling about it, Anna Aguilera?
It's really uplifting. It's been more than a couple of times, like a good number of times where I'm like a little down or over the way the industry operates or what we do or what we're not doing. And then we talked to someone about what we do. And it turns out to be this very different, I don't know, input or way to see the industry or just a good experience they had, and then it's kind of uplifting. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, when we spoke last week to Emma, the Nigerian filmmaker. I mean, I was like, we got on the podcast. It was like 11 o'clock, and I was like, oh, I'm really tired or whatever. And by the end of that podcast, I was like so pumped about life because she was just like, she like burst onto the screen, and she was like, and the stuff that she does is just absolutely amazing. Like she just raised 10 grand and went out to a community in Nigeria and built a whole film just like this on her own, and then edited a full feature film by herself, and then won awards for it. And she's just like, yeah, you have no excuse not to be out there like doing stuff when you hear like her building this out of nothing. It was amazing.
I look forward to that. That's exciting.
No, it's coming out in June 20th. So
perfect. I'll have to hit her up and have her be my accountability buddy.
By the time this episode's out, that one would be out as well.
And the other really cool thing was because she used people in the community in the film. So after it was released, she went back out to the community, set up a big screen, and played the film for them. So they all felt like they were superstars because they were all in the film and they just had the best time. They were superstars.
So where are you on your Wonder Woman pursuits? I mean, to me, you're already Wonder Woman.
My Wonder Woman pursuits?
Yes.
Well, I'm wearing a shirt, so that helps. I have a few like artwork pieces that I've done. I'm trying to get stronger. Like the last 6 weeks, I had no gym available to me, no free weights, no strength training. So I'm just I feel my shoulders getting smaller. They don't squeeze into my shirts anymore. So I'm trying to build that back up. Yeah, those are my Wonder Woman pursuits right now. Eventually, I'll figure out how to swim better. And fly, because that's what you should do.
What kind of flying? Are we skydiving or being a pilot? Or
oh no, I already did skydiving. That was okay, I guess. It was cold. I should have worn gloves and I didn't, so that was fine. Getting shoved out of a plane and just having your hands cold was the only thing I could think about. Not that I was free falling for 2 minutes. No, I mean actual legitimate self-propelled flying, not with an external apparatus. That would be my life goal. I hover a lot in my dreams. There's a lot of hovering. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it means something that I maybe don't want it to mean, but I hover quite frequently and I can get up to 6 feet. And that's exciting. Cool. Yeah. That's not the best kind of flying I do. Yes, exactly. I can't fly any planes, but I do watch a lot of YouTube about aviation now. So I kind of have an idea of what's happening whenever someone comes on, the radio. It's just the airlions, which they would never do. The airlions are not functioning properly. We're going into a left bank or something like that. That would never happen, to be clear. But if it did, I'd be okay, I know what's going on. I got this. I'm going to stay seated and do what I'm told.
Actually, I think the aviation industry is one of the other very hard hit industries during the pandemic. I mean, especially still here in Hong Kong, because I live on an island with a lot of pilots because it's close to the airport. And my goodness, lots of lives have changed in that situation because there was just you drive over the hill on Lantau Island and you look down onto the airport and there's just bank after bank after bank of sitting airplanes, all lined up in a row, and they've been there for 2 years. It's crazy. It's a really weird sight to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, and they need regular maintenance just to sit there. And that's a huge expense to the companies that aren't making any money. It's just the cruise ships, just sitting there, they still need millions and millions of dollars a day just to do nothing.
Yes, all our theaters should have been in maintenance as well, regular.
And that's it, and Sing Yi is just around over the bay over there, and they've got all of the Kotai ferries. So there's just I don't know how many Kotai ferries are out there, but they're going to be obviously they're taking no trips between Hong Kong and Macau for the last few years, and imminently no more trips. Right, so they've got to be maintaining all of that as well, which is crazy.
Wow. So there's no plan on that restarting so far. There's no prediction as to when that might start back up.
The show, The House of Dancing Water.
Well, no, I mean just Kotai, the ferry. The House of Dancing Water. That would be lovely to know, but
no, I mean there's no imminent discussion about borders opening between Hong Kong and Macau at all. Wow. Because we've had COVID. Wow. And Macau has not had COVID, so we are the infected ones, and we will not be allowed.
Oh man, y'all should come to Florida. You don't even know.
I know.
We've been rocking it mask free for forever. I just the last 2 flights that I was on, I didn't have to wear a mask on, and I was both relieved and just terribly confused the entire time, because even just a week or so ago, I was taking a rope access course when I was in Las Vegas, and that entire time no one was wearing masks, and I was just I know that this is the thing. I know that everyone is okay with the thing. Why does this feel so weird now? And to be fair, in Florida, it's been a mask-free place for a long, long time. But even so, in my own working environment, it hasn't. So was just like, okay, I don't know how to feel, but this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, I've been institutionalized, so I've been stuck in this part of the world which are mask obsessed, right? Everybody still wears them everywhere. And so when I went to Singapore and Vietnam, I was like this institutionalized child. Like I just go out with my mask all the time, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot. We don't need to." And it was just such a. I feel weird without it right now, which is so weird. I'm hoping that it'll change soon, but I don't think it's going to here. Even if they lift the mask mandate, Hong Kong people are like, they'd still wear them anyway. It's the opposite of like any other part of the world. They're kind of so like,
I mean, but like that whole like Southeast Asia area has normalized mask wearing for various reasons, you know, for many years. So like, I get that that would, you know, culturally stay in place a little longer because people have been used to that sort of thing for longer. But I do hope that you have a little bit more freedom soon, please.
yeah, mainly for my kids, right? Like, because my kids have been wearing. I wonder also about like kids that were born, you know, because for the first 2 years of their life, they learn how to see people's expressions and things. And I wonder for the people that were born in the pandemic, like, what's their actual development like when they've been staring at people with masks for most of their life, right? Like, I wonder what if that's going to have any kind of developmental effect on them.
We'll find out in 15 years.
Yeah, right. Just put that in the calendar to follow up on.
I would say from my own personal experience, not with infants, but my mother is a primary school teacher and has been for the last 40 years. She's retiring this year. I'm actually planning out a party for her. Don't say anything. But she works with special needs kids from ages 6 to 9. And just, you know, even though they're already developed to the degree that they probably will be, they have been struggling so much with the lack of ability to communicate and understand what's going on in the world around them. Like she's got a few kids that are autistic that really do, like to the degree that they can, rely on people's expressions. And, you know, like what do you do? She did the first year over Zoom, which was just like, how do you teach a special needs kid, you know, when you need to be like there with them, you know, anything that they need over, you know, an internet connection. So like, I mean, it's not just the little ones, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's everyone. Shoot, my dogs got so confused when we go to the vet and everyone was wearing masks. Like they were afraid. They don't usually like the vet to begin with, but I've never seen them like scared before, but this like they can't see what's going on in the same way. So I hope that it doesn't have any like detrimental effects, but I guess we'll find out in 15 years or sooner.
They're definitely going to be the COVID babies. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else has been happening on the world? Like, have you seen or heard or experienced anything about all those wonderful conversations we had during the pandemic and the industry regarding mental health and equity and salary disparities or not?
Honestly, I haven't heard anything new and revolutionary, to be honest. But also, to be honest, I kind of like once I kind of based myself back in Florida, I kind of divested myself a little bit from the entertainment industry and kind of tried to focus on what was going on here while I was here. So I'm sure there's all sorts of like interesting things that are going on, and I just don't know about that. Also, I don't watch TV, so like that doesn't help. Also, I barely listen to the radio, but I could tell you all about like the squirrels in my backyard. So that's what these are the things that I know. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, there's probably always going to be inequity of some form or another, and I think it's really just crucial for each individual to, you know, push for everything that is right for them until they get it, and until like you start changing people's minds. That's really the only way to change things, I think. And it'll happen over time, over generations. It's not going to be like an instant thing. So, but it's getting better. I mean, it's gotten better for me throughout my life. So I think we're getting there.
So now your new role has you based in Florida and you're going to be working in Disney and also on cruise ships. And does that mean you'll go out on the cruise ships and work on them, or does that mean that you'll sort of catch them in port?
I'll kind of like be doubling as like a logistics person. So if I need to take like a client phone call while I'm in Florida, then I'll do whatever I can there. And while I'm, you know, in here, I'll, you know, be setting up projects and doing like all the logistics things for making sure that we have the right equipment planned out. and then work with the support managers to get that sent to the right location. And then if there's a particular project or a particular inspection that needs to happen, it happens on site. So if it's in a ship and it's in port, then that's awesome. If it's on a ship that's at sea, then I'm on the boat in the ocean. And we'll stay at sea until the project is finished, or until it's been planned out to be finished, or until we've accomplished the goal that we had to accomplish. So yeah, so it's any place that they have us at that, you know, Tate Technologies deals with, which is everything now. But yeah, I've mostly been doing cruise ships on these last little freelance things, which has been an experience because I've worked in cruise ships in the past. So I think that actually helps a lot to, you know, have the perspective going in of what, you know, life on ships is like. But at the same time, if I can do it from a hotel, that would be awesome, and not in a cabin. That's all I can say.
You might not have a lot of insight to this, just a few projects, but do you feel like timelines have been adjusted to, you know, take into consideration like testing or mask wearing and getting more breaks around people or away from people and that kind of stuff?
Definitely they have. I know anecdotally that there have been stories of people, you know, who weren't able to get tested and therefore they're not able to like get on a project or something like that. Or, you know, if they've tested positive, then they're in quarantine for like 10 days, you know, wherever that is they are that they tested positive, like they can't even like move to where they need to go to. Or, you know, we have to push projects back because, you know, a crucial member of the team isn't able to join for, you know, COVID reasons, even if they're perfectly fine. So it's definitely cost companies a lot of money to, you know, not be able to get things done at the right time. And then, of course, you know, there's supply chain issues that we've definitely experienced, not being able to get equipment at the time, even though it was planned out months ahead. So, you know, it's hopefully an experience that's going to change soon. But, you know, who's to know these days?
Yeah, we have not talked a lot about the supply chain issues here on the podcast, but it's definitely been affecting the industry at different levels. Just not being able to get the basics, like starting with steel or plastics.
Yeah, well, it's even really hard to like write a timeline, you know, because I've been writing a few timelines for stuff, and it's just like procurement and shipping. How much months will I put in that section of the timeline? And it's like, and it's always got a big red box around it saying, "Don't know." Like seriously, like it used to be, you know. With most suppliers, depending on what it was, you know, 6 to 8 weeks, you'd have it, and you could pretty much bank on that, right? And now I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'll just put a big space there and say it's variable, and then figure it out from there. But that's problematic, especially if people wanted something to be delivered in a particular season or whatever. Then you can't guarantee that, right? Like, so I want it in this summer, or I want it at this point, and you're just like, I don't know if we're going to be able to achieve that. So that's going to become a problem for, well, the stuff that I'm doing at the moment, I guess.
Stuffing things in warehouses when possible, if possible, but then you still have to deal with trucking or shipping or endless other things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The warehouses are just, you know, sitting there like unclimate controlled. And so like I know that there's been several companies that have had like fabrics that have like gone completely off, and they've had to discard like all their stuff just because they've started like growing mold and started decomposing, you know. So like that affects a lot of people. I know there's been several of projects that I've been on where like we've known about what we were planning on doing for a while, and weren't able to get like the correct equipment when we got there. So like it's a very creative game of troubleshooting how you're going to accomplish something with a third of the things that you were planning on using to accomplish that. So you rely on others. You rely on the resources that you have. You talk fancy to Polish people. The last job that I was on, we had a really big problem trying to get a drill, a hand screwdriver that would work. And there were a bunch of other contractors on board. And at one point, a colleague of mine was just trying to drill through this pipe just to make some holes for a bolt. And there was probably like 5 or 6, you know, screw guns that were just, you know, flat batteries, and just like couldn't happen. This thing, it should only take about 5 minutes. And I had to like go across the ship and like start flirting with like all the Polish contractors to see if I could get a screw gun. And I did, and it worked. But things like that. I mean, if we were able to like, have these things like on site ready by the time we got there, then, it would be so much better, not only for, the people who are doing the works, but also for the clients who are there watching you. They're paying all, sorts of money that they've probably paid, a year before as well, because they had planned it. But then, COVID happened, and now they're probably paying even more just to get it done. And, they're just watching like a debacle happen because like we still don't have like everything that we had originally requested. And it's not just us. I mean, I'm sure it's every industry, but like that was my personal experience that I thought was both ridiculous and hilarious at the same time.
That's super cool. I agree. I think, but also theatrical people in our industry are very resourceful, right? So if you got to make it happen, you got to make it happen, even if it means going to sweet talk the Polish at the other end of the ship. Like that's definitely in the realms of what we need to do to get a job done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely, like, I tell stories to like friends and family, and they're just like, why wouldn't you just wait until it, showed up? Well, why would you not like do that when, when you had all like the resource? And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, we need to get this show up, whatever it is, because like people depend on, what the timelines actually say. And if we can do it in a safe and responsible manner, even if it's a more creative manner than we had intended, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, we're very deadline driven, right? Like you go, well, that's the day it's opening. We better make it happen. Whatever circumstances, there'll be a show.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you like to see in the next 6 months, the next year, moving on from this crazy years and into new adventures?
Just more things open and more people open to things being open, I think would be a lovely place to start, because there's still like in my like own community, a lot of pushback to reopening things. And, in my personal opinion, we've got to start somewhere. So even if it's, at a snail's pace, if we can, just get like a little bit step closer to, just being normal people, interacting normally and respectfully with others, then that would be great. That's what I would like to see. Just that.
Amazing. Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us 2 years on from our first podcast. We really appreciate it. And it's really good to see that you're in a good job and living life down there in Florida. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you guys.
Theater at Life is a global media site for entertainment. Memberships start at only $38 per year. You can have unlimited access to our daily published articles, including entertainment news and the writings of active industry professionals, ensuring that you are always up to date on the global happenings in the world of entertainment. Become a part of the international entertainment community and join us now at www.theaterartlife.com.